Okay, Facebook fans and YouTube fans, here we are again, another episode of Table Talk with Roland. And as you can see, this time I have two people sitting at the table. You know, we create missions and journeys for ourselves, and it feels good when we accomplish those things, or when we get to another chapter within the journey, and that's what has happened here at this episode that we got going on. And I'm talking about none other than becoming a pro athlete. So here we are. We're talking with none other than Loren Fuller, and we have his wife Cathy Fuller here. So Loren, let's get right to it. So how do it feel when they say in new IFBB Pro Bodybuilder?
That is a feeling that I've been playing in my mind a million times, and it feels like forever. But finally actually hear it, it was live, and it was in front of a crowd of people.
Yeah.
Meant everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're just going to talk about that journey, because I know you have some stories, just like Cathy. I know you got some stories, So we're going to talk about that, and Cathy's here to support Loren. But one thing why I feel that she's important here as well is because too often you guys only hear one side of the story, and that's the glory part. But I was always taught behind or on side of every good man, there's a great woman. And without that being present, then I'll tell you a lot of things just doesn't happen, because people know our accomplishments, but they don't know the support that goes along with it. So this is going to be twofold. We're going to talk to Loren about his thing, then we're going to talk to Cathy about her thing, and we're just going to be happy with it. So Loren, tell me how many years has it been?
It's been a little over 10 years time.
Wow.
I started bodybuilding actually when I was still active duty in the Army. I was in the Army. I joined the Army at 17. I retired at 37. I didn't start competing until the latter part of my career. So I was actually in company command when I first did my first show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so pretty crazy.
yeah. And that's kind of the story that I have, because I too started the journey late in my Army career, because we know the military takes priority, and therefore we don't have the time and all of that to do it, especially being commander. And I was enlisted. I was an infantry soldier. Mine started as a drill sergeant, and it went from there. But again, let's roll forward with you. Let's talk about that transition.
The transition
from the military side to the civilian side, and deciding to do this.
So okay, which is a story in itself. It was crazy because when I first started bodybuilding, is because I just needed something to focus my attention on. The stressors of being in company command and still being active duty, and getting older and still being active duty.
Yeah.
All those things play a part. So for me, I had always been active. I discovered weights very early on in my career. As an example, when I went to basic training at 17, I weighed 119 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then I went from that to when my daughter was born, I picked up the pregnancy weight.
Yeah.
And then now I couldn't pass my PT test. So it was a means for me to actually get back into shape, because PT alone is not going to do that.
Yes, sir.
So
yes,
I had
sir.
to do something a little bit more extracurricular. So I picked up weight training, and weight training actually, I noticed that my body's starting to transform, and I'm starting to get these type of results, and I wanted to expand with that.
Right.
So it was actually really, really cool just to see how far I could push my body. Now, you know as well as I do, Roland, you get to a certain place or stature or whatever, people notice you in the gym, like, hey man, do you compete? Have you thought about competing? That sort of thing. So people planting that seed in the gym is what prompted me to say, you know what, maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
So I needed something to focus my attention on. There was a show locally there in El Paso where I was stationed at, so I jumped into it, and then went through a haphazard prep, because I didn't know any better. Just listening to somebody trying to guide my prep that really actually wasn't a coach.
That gym lawyer.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And then went through my first show. I had a very sour taste in my mouth from the first show because I thought I was the biggest, greatest thing on the stage, which I was not, hindsight. And then, just went from there. So after I did the first show, it was that, man, the process of it. I was intrigued by the process of it.
Yes.
And then seeing how far I could push my body,
Mm-hmm.
how muscle can be beautiful, how
Yes.
muscle can be graceful, how, just achieving something that you set in front of you. I'm always that type of person. I've always been goal oriented. I always had dreams and aspirations. Every little kid wants to be a pro something.
Yeah.
So for me, baseball wasn't that anymore. The Army wasn't going to be there anymore. I had to focus on something.
Right.
I've always been enamored with the physique. I've always, Ronnie Coleman and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these guys, Flex Wheeler, all these guys are like, superstars of the sports and my idols. So I looked up to them. So it's like, man, maybe I can achieve that one day.
Yeah.
So seeing that I started doing these shows and actually studying and learning about the art of bodybuilding, I fell in love with that. So I was just intrigued to the point where I won my first show. Then I won my first show and it's like, I'm actually kind of good at it. Then it went from that to, man, how far can I go with this?
Yes.
And then I've been a natural pro for 8 years leading up to this.
Yes.
So I've done the PNBA, I've done the Natural Olympia twice.
Wow.
Did all of those things. And then, moving here to Georgia where I met my future, now I wanted to get back into bodybuilding because I took a little bit of a break coming here for work.
Right.
And they had the Kane Classic here.
Yeah.
So I did the Kane Classic, and then that's where that spark came about again.
Gotcha.
So I did 16 total shows in about 30 months.
Wow.
Okay, that's unheard of. Nobody needs to do that. I don't know if I could do that.
You hear that, folks?
That's what we did.
Yeah.
The only reason why I was able to do that is sitting across from the table from me.
Yes.
If it wasn't for her, there's no way any of that would have been possible. And I always give her that acknowledgement in that platform because that's what she deserves. And when we started out, we were only dating, so that's even more of a testament.
Yes.
So when we did the King Classic, that went fairly decent. Then they had Panama City Riptide. So we went into the Riptide, and I won I won all the masters. I won all my classes, and came runner up to the show. The promoter came up to me at the end of the show and said, "Hey, look, you need to stop doing all these local regional shows and then take yourself to nationals."
Yeah.
So then I went to nationals in 2018 and placed 5th in my first nationals. I didn't even know what I was doing. So from there, it's like, now I understand that I belong.
Yeah.
And this is something that can be achieved. You're not going to be a top 5 guy and not be pro bound.
Right.
Or you wouldn't be there.
Correct.
So it was just a matter of buying my time. So yeah, it's been a long journey since August of 2018, but we finally accomplished the goal.
Yes. And just hearing that actually that you've done it in 10 years, believe it or not, that's a short time still.
Yeah.
To being in this industry, knowing it like I know it now. You got some guys been 15, 20 years and finally get there. And some of them do that long and never gets there.
Right.
But 10 years, that's pretty good. That's really, really good. And sound like you've done the sacrifices and you've done your homework more than anything.
Right.
You found out what worked for you, found out that you liked it, and then you just push from there. Now tell me the difference. Did you feel a difference between local level and national level?
Yeah. There's a huge difference.
Yes.
It's the level of competition and the level of just overall seriousness. Because when you go to a local regional show, what you're going to get is that you might have a couple people that might have came in, flew in or whatever, and they had the same ideology that you do. They're trying to level up. Okay, well, those guys are going to be dangerous because they came to win. So there's your competition. Then you're going to have the local guys that are just kind of checking the block.
Gotcha.
And that's what I call it. They're just checking the block. Those are your hobbyists. So when it comes down to it, I've never considered myself a hobbyist.
Right.
I'm an all or nothing type personality, If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it all the way. If not, I'm not gonna do it at all. You know, she's sitting right across from me, and she could attest to that. Okay?
Yes.
Meaning that, you know, my mindset is that we were going to get this pro card. I didn't know how long it was gonna take. I didn't know how many shows it was gonna take. But I know that we're gonna keep working at this craft and perfecting it until the night that we get it right. So
there you go. So in other words, consistency.
Exactly.
Being consistent in this sport pays off more than they can ever imagine. You know, you're a different breed.
Yeah.
You don't go hang out, you know, in places, and you don't go eat in certain places because you have a routine, and you know that this routine works because you've seen people at that level that you can't come in half-stepping.
Right.
You cannot. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. But now that you are at that level, IFBB Pro, what is your plans for getting on stage with that?
So we're going to take our time because we don't want to go into it haphazard. The ideology is the same. We go into shows to win. We don't go into the shows to go through the motions. So I know what it's going to take for me to break that threshold on the pro circuit, and it's going to take time, just like this did. So I'm going to put in the time. I'm going to grow my body so that I can be competitive, and then we're going to go from there.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Well, I'll be looking for you and following you. I've been following you secretly for quite a while, and especially when you're from this area. I'm like, okay, all right. And so it's good to see someone from local that has made it to the top as well, and it shows people that you can do it.
Yes.
And that's pretty awesome. And the thing is, you use this to teach other people, as long as they're willing to listen. But Loren, that's enough about you. Now we're going to talk to Miss Cathy because I know she got some stories. And again, people, it takes a team to achieve this. And one of the things I wanted to do was tell the side of the significant other, that spouse, that person that really has the support role, which is unseen and a lot of times is unheard. But without that person being there, like Loren said, it's impossible to achieve this. So we're just going to talk about that, you know, good, bad, ugly, because I know you haven't been the best all times. Let's just talk about your experience being a supporter of someone like this.
It's been a journey.
Yes, yes.
People ask me all the time, you know, how have you done this? I love him.
Yes.
I didn't marry him and give up.
Yeah.
You know, his coach actually told us this past Saturday. He said, "I really, you know, congratulate you guys." I'm thinking in my mind, I don't know about him, I'm thinking he's congratulating us because we're fighting pros.
Yeah.
He was congratulating us because he said, I've seen a lot of couples not make it because of this. And it was tough. It was tough, Roland. I'm not going to lie. There were days, there were many nights when I would just pray that God would just keep him strong.
Yeah.
You know, especially when he would have to cut weight. I remember when he did that Panama City show. You know, he's not naturally 175. He cut, 12 pounds of water.
Wow.
In one day.
Wow. Goodness.
Now, I thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
He won the show. He did great, won the show. But that was my number one prayer for him, was just keep him strong, keep him focused, keep me strong.
Yeah.
Not physically so that I'll hurt him. But I've thought about that a time as well. But
Sure
you
you did.
do have to, we grew as a couple. You know, I think we actually set the foundation for our marriage properly. I tell people you can build a house any way you want to build a house. You can use whatever materials you want. Finest materials on the market, but if you don't build the foundation and have God in your life first, it's not gonna, that house will not stand up.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's what we did going into is we set our foundation right.
Yes. Yes.
And there was many nights when I would go to bed way before he would even be home. He's at the gym hours and hours. And as long as I knew he was there at night with me, then I was fine. But there was many a nights when I would just pray him home.
Wow. And that's sacrifices. Okay? But it takes a team to make that sacrifice, because I know sometimes, Loren, I know we get selfish.
Yeah.
I know we do, because, you know, we're just thinking eat, sleep, train. And somewhere in there, if we got a job, we're going to do that. And then we'll deal with the family thing, the honey-do list, the things that we promised to do a long time ago, and we just never gets around to it. But people just need to understand that, it's not a smooth road. The journey to becoming a pro, it's a rough road, and
very lonely road sometimes.
There you go. Yes.
There's a lot of times where I felt as though I wasn't strong enough for him, and that would hurt. It hurt me personally because I wanted to be that stronghold for him. Yeah. And yes, he did give up a lot. Like we got married. 2 weeks before we got married, he had a competition. Best I remember, we put our honeymoon off so that he could compete. It was either 2 or 3 weeks after the competition, and then after we got married, and then there was another show. Wow. And then, honey, I promise we're gonna go on that honeymoon. And then there was another show. And then, but he would always come to me before the next show and say, "What do you think about this show? Or what do you think about me doing that show?" And what was my number one response every single time?
If that's what you want to do.
If that's what you want to do.
Wow.
I'll never tell you no if that's what you want to do. Now, there are plenty of times in those 16 shows that I wanted to say no. Yeah. I don't want to do another show. I'm tired of seeing you go through this. I just couldn't. And I knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to turn pro. But just like the time before this in Orlando, I knew he won that show. Yeah. I knew he did. Going into that night show, I'm like, we're walking out of here. We're pros. Yeah. They called him third. I cannot watch him go through that another time. Yeah. My heart broke every single time. Yeah. I never let him see it. Just like now, I get emotional talking about it. Yeah. My heart broke for him every single time. Wow. Because I knew he was good enough, and I knew he'd finally make it.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. These are the things that you guys don't even hear, and you never will hear it, because people like Cathy is behind the scene making sure that Loren is squared away, and he don't have to worry about things at home. Like even being in the military, I take it back to that. When I would go, they would have me stationed all over the place. Okay, but my wife was back there. She couldn't go, but she had the kids to take care of. Right. But not once did I have to worry about, did the kids get to school on time? Did the house get paid? Is everything's happening because she did it, and it gave me the freedom to accomplish a mission. That is exactly what has happened here. Is that support? I'm telling you guys, without the proper support, we don't survive. Right. We don't. And now Loren has shifted gears, and he's about to go on the pro scene. That's a whole different world.
They're already asking me. They're already asking me every day. They're like, "What are you gonna do now?" Yeah. I'm like, "Well, he's gonna take a little bit of time off. We're gonna regroup, and then he's gonna step on the stage with some big dogs." And they're like, "No, not another show." So he didn't turn pro not to compete again.
Exactly.
I want him to compete again.
Exactly. And what I love about right here, right now, is your whole demeanor is all about happiness for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings happiness for you, and that's the look that's been on your face. That's what I see oozing out of you, and that's what it takes. Not that she has to take a back seat or a back row. No, she's actually leading from the front, because if she wasn't leading from the front, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing.
Oh, she's setting the example. That's what she's doing.
But it's been a journey. I'll say that it's definitely been. It's been a journey.
I can attest to it. My wife can attest to it, because a lot of times, even when people tell me, "Well, thank you for your service," no, thank my wife for her service. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to go and do that. But again, I just wanted the people to know that it takes a team effort. Whether you're married, whether you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. If that person is not on board with this type of sport, it's a rough road to travel, and a lot of times they don't make it. But that's pretty awesome. So we're gonna see if we can't get a commitment out of Loren right here on this thing here. We got the NPC Tri-City Classic coming up on 3 April, and so we're gonna extend your first opportunity to guest pose at an event as an IFBB pro.
I'm there.
So, see, you heard that. You heard it. You heard it. So this is going to be one of our guest posers right here sitting at the table today, and we're just going to make it happen because he earned that. You earned that right to just have fun with that thing called an IFBB Pro card, and we're going to kick it off right here at home.
Awesome.
You know, so that means you got to stay in shape.
Thanks, Roland.
You got to stay in shape and come on and do it. But again, I appreciate you guys coming
Thank you for having
to sit at the table, and this is what we do. We just talk. There's no scripts. There's nothing. We're genuine what we talk about. So because people need to know, and people need to hear things. They need to hear the good side and the rough side of the mountain, because when it comes together, we all make it to the top. So Loren, Cathy, we appreciate you guys. I know we probably ran over what is considered the time, but they needed to hear from both sides of this, because somebody's out there trying to travel the same route that you guys are traveling. And so they need to hear that from a new IFBB Pro, along with his wife, on what it takes. So stay tuned to the next episode of Table Talk with Roland. We'll be talking to you soon. See you.